What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name is Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, when Marvel Studios did the chair reveal, or at least the first part for the cast of Avengers Doomsday, the very first chair they started with was Chris Hemsworth, confirming that he would be back and that Thor: Love and Thunder was not Thor's last outing in the MCU, and thank God for that. But now we're hearing a huge update for what Marvel Studios is planning to do with his character in the upcoming Avengers films. This coming from trusted industry insiders. We're going to talk about what they revealed, what Marvel's reported plan is for Thor over the next two Avengers films, and what that would mean for the future of the character and a possible Thor 5 we've heard about in the rumor mill for the last 2 years. We're breaking it all down, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button. Thanks to everyone who's been subscribing lately. I would just kindly invite you to do so if you haven't already. It's the number one thing you can do to support us here at the channel. Plus, it enters you for the giveaways if you want. Stick around to the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so this reveal actually originates with the editor-in-chief over at the Cosmic Circus. If you've watched my channel for a while, you'll be familiar with their editorial. It's the same one that Alex Perez writes for. If you're not, they have a proven track record and have been pretty ubiquitous in the Marvel scoop game for the better part of 3 or 4 years. And again, they do this segment called Question and Answer, and their editor-in-chief, Lizzie Hill, said this in the last one, quote, "From what we've heard, Thor will reunite with Loki at some point during these films, and he'll essentially be one of the last OG Avengers remaining. Our friend, Alex Perez, did hear a rumor that Marvel wanted to give Chris Hemsworth Thor a proper send-off in these movies in an epic way, with sources pointing to New Avengers Volume 3, number 32 as the inspiration. Although it could be the end of Chris Hemsworth Thor at the very moment, that doesn't exclude the possibility of the character's return, as he's also been told that the Thor core as well as other parts of Thor's mythology from the comics will be adapted for Secret Wars and beyond." Okay, so there's actually quite a lot of detail here to unpack, and I want to talk about this again in context of the Avengers movies and then what she talks about the possibility going forward in a Thor 5. What they're referencing in the New Avengers Volume 3, number 32, and taken directly from the synopsis is, quote, "Thor and Hyperion resolve to die together in battle, but as Thor tries to lift his hammer, he finds he is unable to. He realizes that he is no longer unworthy and laughs as he will now be able to die, knowing he reclaimed his worthiness. After vowing to race each other to Valhalla, the two throw themselves at the Beyonders and die." Okay, so look, obviously the whole worthy-unworthy arc, that might not exactly apply, but it is a pretty epic send-off as Thor knows he's going into battle to die and he's basically willing to do it. Now, the whole thing here, though, is that if he ascends to Valhalla, there are some specific characters that we expect to return, like Jane Foster's Mighty Thor in the comics. After she gets to Valhalla, she comes back as a Valkyrie. So him going to Valhalla is not sort of an end stop, even if he has an epic death in Avengers Doomsday, and that's what they're alluding to about there being a future in Secret Wars and then beyond. Of course, the Thor core would be part of the story if they draw from the 2015 Jonathan Hickman run, and I'm just most excited for them to possibly eventually get to Beta Ray Bill, as I've been asking for pretty much since his channel's existed over the last 7 years. But I think the real takeaway here is that an epic send-off or death in Doomsday isn't necessarily the final stop for Chris Hemsworth's Thor. Now, I've been saying, and for quite some time, if there is anybody left in the MCU right now that started basically in the beginning, like Thor, this is your off-ramp. Avengers Secret Wars, you get your glorified send-off death. This is your chance to leave the MCU. But we've heard just too much about Thor 5. Chris Hemsworth in interviews has said he's willing to do it. George Miller has been rumored to be the #1 choice to do that. I don't see him walking away from this role, and just yet. And to be totally honest, I think we basically got a definitive update from Marvel about how they feel about rebooting characters. So for all of the news that we've heard about them possibly rebooting the MCU after Secret Wars and then recasting characters we don't have anymore, like Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, Brad Winderbaum, the vice president, and who I consider very clearly to be the #1 guy who would become Marvel Studios president if Kevin Feige were ever to step away from the role, has said definitively that reboots don't work, and he directly referenced in this interview from earlier this year or late last year, over at DC in the comics, when they tried to do that hard reboot, it never worked. That's his take, his critique on rebooting the MCU. And so for someone like Chris Hemsworth, who's still relatively young and could play Thor going forward, we're about to have the X-Men. We're about to have the Fantastic Four. Now, more than ever, is the most exciting time going forward. And so I do anticipate death or not in either of these films, we're going to see a Thor 5 somewhere down the road. And I also think that even though some actors may choose to use this as their off-ramp, and I'm calling for a couple, say like Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange, well, we sort of know he dies in the 2015 Jonathan Hickman run anyway. We've talked about that a lot at the channel, but there are actors I do think might take this off-ramp, but Chris Hemsworth isn't one of them. And so, death or not, I think we get Thor 5 coming up in the Mutant Saga, and we will get to see the future of Thor. Now, whether or not he sort of ascends to Thor Allfather and there's another Thor behind him, or someone else takes his place like Beta Ray Bill, or they decide to feature Hercules, who may never be seen again after Thor Love and Thunder, that's yet to be seen, because Hercules was a member of the Avengers as well. There's still some really cool teams they could do for Beta Ray Bill, like the Annihilators, that I sort of hope that they were building to at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, but we'll have to see where, if ever, that goes anywhere. You guys let me know all your thoughts, though, down below, how you feel about a Thor 5 and Chris Hemsworth sticking around. And what are you anticipating for Avengers Doomsday when they're talking about all of these deaths and Anthony Mackie saying that no one's expendable and it ends in a cliffhanger, and now you hear Marvel Studios wants to do something like New Avengers 32 where Thor sacrifices himself? Sounds pretty nuts. I'm all ears as always. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. Okay, we're still giving away PS5s at the channel, and we're about to announce a shorts channel that's going to go in conjunction with this one, because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about from the comics, or maybe even smaller stuff for the MCU that just doesn't find a home here. We'll be doing huge giveaways and multiple giveaways on that channel as well. All you got to do for now, though, to be entered here for any of the giveaways going forward is hit the subscribe button, then leave a comment down below, and because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will always be announced live with my voice in the winning comment shown on the screen when there is one. So please be safe and vigilant on YouTube, or really any platform, anywhere anybody's doing giveaways. Try to remember, anybody can grab a content creator's photo, claim to be them, spam the comments, and they will get people who won't realize it's not them. It's all just a ruse to try to charge you for shipping for a prize that doesn't exist. Guys, no content creator, myself included, will ever charge you for shipping. That's not part of the deal when you win a prize. So try to remember that. If you should ever get spam comments like that anywhere on YouTube, just report them directly to YouTube. They're very fast about deleting those accounts, and then you've really done everyone on the platform a service where they've commented. They've left us alone for years, but they've targeted one of my buddies up until real recently, and it's such a hassle. So if you ever deal with that, be wary, definitely be cautious, and if you get a spam comment, report it. The best way to keep up with the content here at the channel has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. And as always, if you like today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me in a couple of places, Instagram and Twitter at IamFires. You can also find me on all platforms with original music under the name Allfires. And in fact, I just released a brand new single this month. I've left a link down in the description. If you have a moment, if you could click on it, I know music is subjective. It might not be for you, but by essence of just clicking it, you'll send it out in the algorithm to people who want to hear it. I would sincerely appreciate it. But don't worry if you don't. Totally cool. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.